Thank you, Chairman Comer. I just want to start by thanking, of course, our witnesses for being here today and for all of our members being back. We all agree, I think everyone on both sides of the aisle can agree, that fraud is a threat at every level of government, in every private sector business, and to every single American. Fraud exists everywhere. When I was mayor of my hometown in Long Beach, we worked for better and more efficient government and took on fraud whenever it existed and wherever it appeared to protect taxpayers. It's something that all of us take seriously every single day. When we find fraud, we should punish people and those that are committing it against the American public, especially when it damages services that people rely on. Now, what we should not do is use fraud as an excuse to rip away aid from innocent people who follow the rules and need help in our society. We should fight fraud when people rip off programs designed to help working families. And also, we should fight fraud when large corporations and wealthy individuals dodge their own taxes and rig the system for their own benefit. And especially, we should fight fraud when figures in our government, particularly those in power within the White House or our agencies, get rich and profit from their offices. Fraud is never acceptable, and it undermines public trust, whoever commits it. But let's remember that some of the worst fraud and corruption is actually found at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. Republicans like to talk about fraud in states with Democratic governors, oftentimes exclusively. But Republicans also have a president who has pardoned or reduced jail time for 25 criminals convicted of fraud in this year alone. Now, some of these fraudsters have made also huge campaign contributions to Donald Trump. And worst of all, Trump's pardons mean that these criminals can avoid paying back more than $1 billion, which they owe their victims, and dwarfs much of the fraud that the House majority wants to talk about today. This is actually the opposite of accountability. Instead, the House majority wants to excuse and cut programs, which they have done from the start. Now, Donald Trump's signature law cut money for health care and food programs. Medicaid and CHIP help almost half the kids in the United States see a doctor. And that we lost, of course, $1 trillion in those programs. Over 10 million people could lose health care. Trump's law also cut 40 million people who use SNAP. And this includes, by the way, 1 out of every 5 kids. And this is happening not just in Minnesota. The president plans to freeze more than $10 billion for child care subsidies, social services, and cash support for low-income families in Minnesota, New York, Colorado, Illinois, and my home state of California. Of course, we know these states have Democratic governors that Donald Trump wants to punish. And we should look at those consequences if we want to talk about fraud. In Minnesota, which we're talking about today, Donald Trump is removing child care funding for the entire state. That frozen funding provides child care for over 18,000 kids. These kids didn't commit fraud. So I want to know why they should be punished. Last night, he said he's withholding all possibly Medicaid funds from Minnesota, which could harm 1 in 5 residents. Now, in New York, another state he's threatening, that's over 66,000 innocent kids, while pardoning, of course, 25 fraudsters and robbing victims of over $1 billion. Donald Trump should have to face the kids and parents who will be hurt even though they've done nothing wrong. I want to know what the president and the House majority expect the parents of these kids to do. Many don't seem to care. He wants to pardon and protect more rich crooks and fraudsters who have robbed over $1 billion from innocent people. Now, in California, in my home state, this threatens over 176,000 kids. 176,000 kids. Well, he continues, of course, to pardon fraudsters and connected folks that have donated immense amounts of money to his campaign. Now, this hurts not just Democratic families, but Republican families. It's innocent kids, regardless of political party, who need child care. We are in an affordability crisis, and the majority is not going after the real fraud that's being committed to the American public. Now, in Illinois, he has threatened funding for more than 62,000 kids. 62,000 kids. And finally, in Colorado, the other state that he's going after, more than 16,000 kids will lose funding. But we know, of course, that the president will let his friends get away with crime. And I want to point out one last thing, which is so important. While Donald Trump attacks these states, the Wall Street Journal on Monday reported a massive Mississippi scandal. Mississippi, of course, isn't on Trump's list. We don't have witnesses from Mississippi here today. Oversight Republicans aren't calling in Governor Tate. And I think the question is, why? We have real fraud happening, yet there's zero interest, apparently, in what's happening here in Mississippi and other places. Republicans want to cut benefits and attack states with Democratic governors. And what it's done, particularly in places like Minnesota, it has unleashed bigotry and hate. Minnesota child care centers have become the target of harassment and even vandalism and theft. Parents are afraid to drop their kids off in the morning and go to work. This is an opportunity, again, to attack for the House majority and smear innocent people without evidence. If we cared about fraud, we'd be starting at the very top. This is critical for the country and to actually take on fraud and abuse and the fraudsters that are being pardoned across the United States. Mr. Chairman, I yield back.
Gentleman yields back.